They killed the cops who swore to protect us. Now they're facing the consequences. See how cop killers react to life sentences. That person is Mark Anthony Gonzalez, who is being charged with murder in San Antonio, Texas. Gonzalez brutally killed Bexar County Sheriff's Deputy Sergeant Kenneth Van, who had been working for the department for 24 years. Van was responding to a shooting. Gonzalez, who was driving next to Van's patrol car, decided to fire a hail of bullets at him. The bullets hit the other side of Sergeant Van's patrol vehicle and tore through his upper body, even though he was wearing a bulletproof vest. Investigators were shocked to find that Gonzalez had fired 46 shots at the advanced patrol vehicle, 26 of which hit the van and killed it. His life at the scene was a living nightmare, with Van's patrol car filled with bullet holes, which made worried drivers call 911. The patrol car was stopped at a traffic light and firing 46 shots from an assault rifle. Gonzalez's crime was horrible, but his reaction to his sentence was even worse. During his trial, it became clear that Gonzalez had gone to great lengths to hide his tracks. When police arrested him at home, they found an assault rifle that was a key piece of evidence linking him to the crime. The firing pin on the gun had been changed on purpose to make it less relevant to the shooting, but there was so much evidence against him that it was overwhelming. For example, cell phone records showed that Gonzalez was at the crime scene, and Gonzalez's friend also testified that Gonzalez had told him that he had killed. At first, Gonzalez's lawyers tried to say he was mentally unstable, and they even brought in a neurologist to back up their case. However, after a long and difficult competence hearing, it was clear that he was not crazy. Prosecutors never found out why Gonzalez killed the man, and Gonzalez's defense said that drugs and alcohol made him lose his judgment that tragic night when he hit that bottom step, slipped, and fell. Neuropsychiatric research shows that he knocked himself out. However, prosecutors said that this concussion would not have changed his ability to understand what he was doing at the time of the crime. In court, the victim's family met the murderer for the first time. During the victim impact statement, Sergeant Van's widow, Yvonne Van, spoke movingly about her loss of her husband. Her husband hit her like a ton of bricks, leaving her feeling helpless and hopeless. "I will never have any more alone time with my husband, and my time now is truly alone in every sense of the word," she said. The jury found Gonzalez guilty of capital murder and recommended the death penalty as the ultimate punishment. As the sentence was read, Gonzalez remained calm, his face showing no emotion. Many people thought Gonzalez got what he deserved, but this wasn't the case. The only time a cop killer got a sentence that felt like justice was in the case of Quentin Smith. This is Quentin Smith, who is on trial in Ohio for the murders of 2 Westerville police officers, Eric Joring and Anthony Morelli, who died while responding to a domestic violence call in February 2018. It's a story that made the 4 reasons that are deeply rooted in jealousy. Smith severely abused his wife Candace. When police arrived in response to a distress call, Smith killed Anthony Morelli and Eric Jordan without any good reason. On Saturday afternoon, Columbus Police Department sources told me that Smith opened fire. As if the killings weren't bad enough, Smith's behavior in court was even worse. During the trial, it was heartbreaking. The courtroom was full of people, and the judge read an email from the grieving Jordan family. The family's strong words echoed as they talked about their pain and loss, and they even said they believed God spared Smith's life so he could have a chance to change his mind about his horrible crime. To give you an idea of what the family said, "We understand Mr. Smith was shot several times. Does he wonder why he's still alive? We're sure that God spared him that day so that he could have time to repent for this serious mistake. If he does, God will forgive him and welcome him into heaven." Other officers also testified in court that they couldn't do anything to help John, who was hit by Officer Morelli. So I quickly moved over to him. He was lying on the floor holding himself up by his elbow and looking up at us. It was up to the jury to decide if Smith should be put to death, but after a lot of discussion, they couldn't agree. Judge Richard Fry stepped in and spared Smith's life, but don't worry, justice was still done. Judge Fry gave him 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Possible parole and an extra 26.5 years in prison. Smith chose to stay silent and didn't say a word of apology or regret. Smith's cold behavior made it seem like he was guilty, But this wasn't the only time a convict didn't show emotion in response to their sentence. Dante Morris, who is facing multiple charges, is another example. Morris was born on August 24, 1985, in Tampa, Florida. He had a rough childhood because his depressed 16-year-old mother raised him, and the unsolved murder of his father when he was only 2 years old haunted him. Life was not easy for Morris. From May 18 to June 8, 2010, he unleashed a reign of terror, killing 5 people in cold blood. Derek Anderson and Rodney Jones were 2 of his victims. They all tragically died in drug-related incidents. Worst was yet to come. On June 29, 2010, chaos broke out when Morris met police officers Jeffrey Kokab and David Curtis. Morris had an outstanding arrest warrant for fraud when he was pulled over for missing license plates. This is captured on Officer David Curtis's dash cam as he pulls over a red Toyota for having expired tags. Seeing trouble, Officer Curtis calls for help from his partner Kokab, but neither of them knew what was about to happen. Morris, armed with a gun, shot both officers in the head and then ran away from the scene of the crime. The horrifying dash cam footage helped identify Morris as the killer. Morris wasn't acting alone in his criminal activities. His aunt Carolyn Riggins, who worked at the Tampa Police Department, was found to have hidden important information that could have led to Morris's arrest earlier. Any comment to make things even more complicated, Morris had a girlfriend named Courtney Brantley. She was the getaway driver the night Morris killed the 2 cops, and she got a nice 1-year prison sentence for fleeing the scene of the crime and hiding a dangerous weapon. After the murders, over 1,000 police officers and employees from 22 agencies, including the FBI and ATF, started looking for Morris. The search in Tampa had never been so intense. They went through 300 homes. Thermal imaging helicopters and wanted posters in multiple states were used to try to catch Morris. The reward for his capture reached an unbelievable $101,000. Morris's criminal record was also not funny, with 14 pages of charges ranging from car theft to drug trafficking and even murder. This guy had quite the rap sheet. Eventually, on July 2, 2010, Morris was caught at a law firm in South Tampa, ending his deadly rampage. After Spree's arrest, the trials that followed were gripping. His ex-girlfriend Ashley Price testified against him in court. Did he tell you that the officer had gone back to run his name? Yes. Did he tell you that he was afraid that he had a warrant? The wives of the officers who were killed, Sarah Kokab and Kelly Curtis, were also in court. Along with Tampa police officer Kelly Curtis, Officer David Curtis's wife sat nearby. Morris was found guilty of killing Rodney Jones and given a sentence of life in prison without the chance of parole plus an extra 25 years. In May 2014, he was given the death penalty for killing 2 police officers, Jeffrey Kokab and David Curtis. That's one reason why David Curtis was killed on purpose in the first degree. The court makes you feel like you're dead. Dante Morris was sentenced to death for first-degree premeditated murder in Ohio. Ashford Thompson, a 23-year-old, was charged with murder by Officer Josh McTarian during a traffic stop. McTarian was killed by Thompson's loyal dog Baggio. McTarian had a concealed handgun permit, but never responded. Chaos ensued as Baggio barked inside the cruiser, and Thompson shot McTarian 4 times in the head. The case was compared to Ashford Thompson's case. Ashford Thompson, a former police officer, was found guilty of aggravated murder in 2010 with the added conditions that led to the death penalty. The jury, led by Julian Pound, found Thompson guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of the aggravated murder charge in the indictment and recommended the death sentence. Officer McTarian's mother spoke movingly in court about the death of her son Josh, who took her life as well. On June 23, 2010, Summit County Common Pleas. Court Judge Eleanor Marsh Stormer upheld the jury's recommendation and sentenced Thompson to death. Thompson is currently on death row at the Chillicothe Correctional Institution. He appealed, hoping to overturn his conviction and sentence, but the Ohio Supreme Court turned down his request. In contrast, Humberto Delgado Jr., a former police officer with chronic knee pain, is on trial for the first-degree murder of Tampa Police Corporal Mike Roberts in August 2009. Delgado was pushing a shopping cart full of his belongings on his way to a veterans hospital in Tampa when his journey took an unimaginable turn as he trudged through the hospital's grounds. In the rain, a man named Delgado meets Corporal Michael Roberts of the Tampa Police Department, who suspects him of shopping cart theft. Delgado shows Roberts his driver's license and a veteran's ID card as proof of his identity. Roberts searches Delgado's bag, finding 4 guns hidden in it. Delgado runs away, but Roberts confronts him head-on, leading to a fistfight that turns deadly. Delgado shoots Roberts out of fear and panic. The courtroom was tense and emotional, with evidence and testimony illustrating desperation and fear. The prosecution insisted that Delgado was mentally ill, and doctors testified that he was not thinking straight or making decisions. Officer Roberts' wife Cindy pleaded for the death penalty and hoped for Delgado to receive it along with him. After 6 hours of deliberation, the jury found Delgado guilty and sentenced him to life in jail. Delgado's reactions were shocking, as seen in a video of killers laughing in court.